Prologue, Jordan's arms strained as he lifted his body over the rocky ledge. Thankful for those push-ups, now, Ma! He shouted excitedly into the open sky over his shoulder. He had always been a fit young man of deep thoughts and rugged looks. When it came to working out his bod, he would rather climb a mountain than run on a treadmill. The thoughts of his mom's teasing him brought on a wide, scruffy-faced grin. Thanks for the memory, he shouted, almost losing his grip. He flipped up his last leg and rolled onto his back, away from the cliff's edge. When it came to working out his mind, he would rather read on a high peak overlooking a vast forest or next to a bubbling brook than in a stuffy study hall. His mind worked in many ways of logical thinking, so he not only dove into every book he came across, from ancient mythology, archaeology, physicists to graphic novels and teenage fiction, which to Jordan was very humorous. And he now found himself climbing a mountain's top that has never been seen because of cloud cover. A mountain for him that is shrouded in mystery. This week has been way more of a workout than I thought. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he grabbed his water bottle and GPS from his backpack. Still nothing. He exhaled deeply. He looked back over the edge, down at what he had climbed. He was astonished how high mountains peak. He watched a large bird fly over the tree line far below him. "Soar high for me, my friend," he saluted. He placed his gadgets back in his pack and turned to face the cliff. JB Mounteer needed to find his next few footholds when he spotted a large crack in the cliff face. Carefully, he slid himself along the narrow edge until he reached it. He turned to face it and stepped inside. Jordan could not believe his eyes. A giant smile grew on his scruffy face. The crack opened into a whole hidden world. He could see a great fjeld surrounded by forest and a few plants he couldn't identify. An oasis surrounded and hidden from the world by a wall of rock, like a world in the mouth of a large volcano. Jordan just stared, taking in everything he could see, astonished. He marveled at the forest that surrounded most of it, with all the different kinds of trees. Evergreens he expected to see in the region, but what looked like willows, exotic and eastern flora. He was looking at nothing he had ever seen, heard of, read about, or even dreamt of. His eyes suddenly stuck on a single very large mound in the center. The more he looked, the more out of place it looked. It did seem to be set in the middle of the fjeld. He couldn't be sure with the tall grass and few trees between them. He waved a flull eye away and walked slowly towards it, scanning the ground the best he could. The wind felt nice on his neck. He had spent the last few days hiking, and he knew he didn't smell very good. He smiled when he felt the air temperature suddenly dropped. He took a deep breath of mountain air to confirm his suspicion. He had learned from years of motorcycle riding that meant there was likely a river or body of water nearby. He could use a bath. Just a few feet from Main Mound, he found a small one. He went to sit down and quickly discovered it was not a mound, but an artifact. The dirt and moss pulled easily off, revealing slick stone underneath. It looked as though nature had set a rug made of dirt and moss over her park bench. This strange rock stood as tall as his waist. It had a square bottom and smaller square top. The four slick sides were as smooth as glass and shined brightly in the sun. A Legend of Elkapella. Elkapella 2. He quickly turned his attention to the large mound and excitedly started ripping off moss. Jordan guessed the large one had to be at least 12 feet tall and at least as wide. The two megaliths looked like pyramids with their tops cut off. After ripping off enough moss off the big section, he sat back on the small stone to scour it with his eyes, to search for markings. There are more treasures to find up here, he thought, maybe even a story. He placed his hand on the glip, letting his finger feel the warm indention, trying to feel more of its contour. He suddenly realized he was still holding the arrowhead when it and the rock under his hand started to burn. They suddenly sent out a burst of warm white light. He could not let go. He squeezed his eyes tight to keep out the blinding light, and that's when he seen